Sometimes I get questions on journals that really make me think. Recently I got asked whether I knew of any journals that weren't made in China and were a B5 size. Hi, I'm Ruby from the Useful Journal. In this video, I'm going to discuss why someone might want to boycott products from China. I'm going to talk about the journal brands that I know of that have a B5 size and are not made in China. I'm then going to share with you some other journal brands that are also not made in China, but only have other sizes like A5. And finally, I'm going to share with you a list of companies that do make their notebooks in China. There's a number of reasons why someone might avoid journals made in China, whether it be for political reasons or because of their business practices. Leading the list are territorial issues with Tibet, Taiwan and Hong Kong. Then there's also the treatment of Uyghur people and other ethnic minorities in the Xinjiang province, where over 1 million people live in re-education camps and are forced to work in factories. On a private business level, there are issues with copyright and the design of products being stolen, and workers report excessive overtime, unsafe working conditions, and sexual harassment in the workplace. As China becomes wealthier though, even they are outsourcing a lot of their production to countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh, where working conditions may be even worse. I will point out that Western countries can by no means sit in judgment on these countries. In Australia, for instance, there are major human rights abuses in terms of Aboriginal deaths in custody. There are also indefinite detention of asylum seekers and refugees in offshore detention camps. Violence against women is a growing issue, and children as young as 10 can have criminal charges and may even be interned in adult detention facilities. In the workplace, we could do better in terms of working hours and work-life balance, wage distribution and gender inequality. The United States also has issues with gender-based violence and discrimination and violence against LGBTQIA communities. Black people are disproportionately impacted by lethal force from the police. The death penalty still exists in some states, as does indefinite detention. Abortion has been banned in some states, and America is the only industrialised country that doesn't guarantee universal health care. Americans work long hours, have limited vacation time, and there is no guarantee of things like maternity leave. I can understand why someone might want to boycott products from China, but I do encourage people to maintain some perspective about what's happening in their own backyard as well. Back to the question at hand, are there dotted journals that aren't made in China that come in a B5 size? Well, of course there are. I've managed to find 5 brands of B5 dotted notebooks that aren't made in China. Before I reveal them, there's a sizing explanation. B5 is very close in size to a composition notebook. Most countries use the B5 sizing, which is 18 by 25 centimetres. The composition notebook is used by some countries in Europe and by America, and that is 19 by 25 centimetres, so very close in size. Not only have I managed to find some notebooks that are B5 size, but I've also found them in different weights of paper. Starting at the lightest weight paper, my A5 Leuchtturm 1917 journal was actually made in Taiwan. Now, I'm not sure whether the paper itself comes from China and that just the journal is put together in Taiwan. And what I've also noticed with Leuchtturm 1917 is that where it's made varies a lot. So my hardcover was made in Taiwan, whereas my soft cover was made in China. I suspect it depends on availability and supply line issues and things like that. So You might have to do a bit of research to see whether their B5 journals are made in Taiwan or not, and you may not be 100% comfortable that made in Taiwan does not mean it's partly made in China. I can't guarantee that. It gets clearer from here. Rhodia has a soft cover dotted composition notebook with 90 GSM paper. Their journals are made in France, sometimes in Morocco. Dingbats has a B5 notebook with 160 GSM white paper, which is made in Lebanon. I've reviewed versions of journals from Leuchtturm 1917 from Rhodia and from Dingbats, and they were all good quality. However, Leuchtturm 1917 I found had some construction issues. Here's two more journals that I have no experience of but are on my list to review because they look interesting. Hemlock and Oak has a B5 notebook with 160 GSM paper made in Canada. Devongarry Art has a hardcover B5 with 150 GSM paper and a softcover B5 with 120 GSM paper, and they are both made in Poland. If you're looking for dotted journals that aren't made in China, that come in other sizes like A5 or A6 or Travelers, for instance, then you could look at Nuna, which is made in Germany and Sweden. Your Bujo is also made in Germany. Tukti is made in Croatia. Japanese companies tend to make their own paper and notebooks in Japan, and Japanese brands that do that include Midori, Stalogy and Clyde, and Travelers Company are made in Japan and Thailand. There's probably other brands, even perhaps in B5, but these are the only brands that I'm aware of for now. Here's a list of dot grid journals that are made in China. Scribbles That Matter, Notebook Therapy, Archer and Olive, Moleskine, Some Leuchtturm 1917, Sequez, Paper Blanks, Clever Fox, Jumping Fox, Yop and Tom, Primrosia, Reverie, and the list goes on. Other brands that I suspect are made in China, but I've been unable to confirm whether they are or not, include Scribble and Dot, Vivid Scribbles, Quirky Cup Collective, Lamome, and Amanda Rach Lee. As a general rule, if the company doesn't say where the journal is made, there is a fair bet that it's been made in China. After all, paper was invented in China in AD 105. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have a specific journal need that you want to find, or you just have a question about journaling, please don't hesitate to ask me and I'll see what I can find out. See ya!